Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today we're going to work with the 3DFX Voodoo 3, specifically the temperatures and cooling options. This card is known to run quite hot, and a lot of people mod a cooler onto this card, and I'm going to show you my method. Now the version I've got is the Voodoo 3 3500, the compact edition, running at 183 megahertz for the core and for the memory, and this is pretty much the hottest Voodoo 3 that you can get. So if you've got a 3000 or 2000, they should not run quite as hot at this as this card. So the test system we're using today is once again our slot 1 Pentium 3 running at 1 gigahertz. We've got 256 meg of RAM. There's a 30 gigabyte IBM hard drive. We've got an optical drive and a monitor from Samsung, 450 watt power supply, PS2 keyboard and mouse, everything ready to go. So let's turn on the machine and we're just gonna boot into Windows. We have Unreal running in 3DFX glide mode at 1280 by 1024. I have disabled VSync through the drivers, so we're gonna let it run a while to heat up. So while this is running, I'm just gonna do a quick finger test. So yeah, it's warm. You can still keep your fingers on it, so it's not too bad yet. And on the rear side, ooh, yeah, that's a lot hotter. So maybe 4 seconds or so before you burn your hand. Now, recently I got this little infrared thermometer, but yeah, look, it's not ideal. So apparently it has a lot to do with what kind of surface you're measuring, and aluminium seems to totally throw it off, because if I do a reading here, we're getting 41, 42 degrees, which it feels a lot warmer than 40 degrees. So I'm really not sure how accurate that is. The backside was a lot hotter, so let me get a reading from here. 73. So it's all about just finding the hotspot, and it's quite easy on the Voodoo 3 because there's a little square marking at the back. So I get a reading of around 75, 76 degrees. Okay, so definitely a lot hotter on the back of the card, which makes sense. There's no cooling whatsoever. So we're gonna let it run for half an hour and we'll be back with some more readings. But do keep in mind that I'm not 100% convinced that this gadget is very accurate, especially here at the front with the heatsink, where we're getting 44 degrees, 45, but it's more about the difference once we install the fan. How much cooler is the reading, especially at the back. So that's really what I'm trying to get out of this video. Okay guys, we're back. It's been running for just over half an hour. So let's have a look at the temperature on the rear of the card. I'll do the finger test first. Yeah, that's very hot. And from the front, it feels just as hot from the front. So let's have a look what our infrared gadget measures in terms of temperature. So 76, 80, 83. Okay, let me just try that again. I'll get a bit closer. Up here, there you go. 80, 85 seems to be okay, almost 86. Yeah, 85 to 86 degrees. So definitely very hot. Let's turn this around and we're gonna measure the front of the card. So here we go, yeah, and I'm 100% sure that reading is just totally off, because if I put my hand here, I can only hold it for 2 or 3 seconds. So unfortunately this infrared device, depending on the material or even maybe the surface material, it shows a different temperature. If you go up here to the memory modules, we're getting a much higher reading, 66 over here, 64. Let's have a look, what are we getting here? 58. So around 60 something degrees for the memory modules. Okay, so what I'm gonna do next is shut down the machine, and then I'll show you how to quickly install a fan, and then we're gonna let the machine run again, and we'll see if we can measure any improvement. So those who've been watching my videos for a little bit longer, you might have seen the video on this cooling mod. Basically, it's an 80mm fan, and we're using a cable tie here to attach that corner, and then just a rubber band. This works really good, a very efficient cooling, but it does look a little bit rough and raw, so we're gonna do a slightly different method today. This is the card straight out of the machine. It is still fairly warm. For this mod, you need a fan. This is, let me just get my measuring tape. I believe it's a 50 or 60 mil. Yeah, that's a 60 mil fan. So you need a 60 mil fan. Screws. I just went to our local hardware store and bought an assortment of screws. And these are the ones that we're gonna go with. And you just need a Phillips screwdriver number 2, and that's all we need. And basically what we're gonna do, we're gonna use these fins from the existing cooler, and we're gonna mount our fan on here. There's no glue needed. The idea is to leave everything original basically, so you don't lose any resale value. And the way we're gonna mount this fan is basically, and you might have to try a few positions until you find the right spot, but right about here seems to be a good spot. You can see how the screws fit in nicely, so we're just gonna screw it down. You might have to hold down the fan because it'll run away once you screw in those screws, so you just have to hold them down a little bit, and also do the other one. See how it's trying to run towards us, and that's really it. So we only need 2 screws. This is very solid, it doesn't fall off at all, and yeah, that's your cooling mod. So we're gonna put it back on our test bench. Let me just focus, and I'll put the card back into our system, and then we can run some more benchmarks. So I've got a fan header over here. That'll do the job just fine. I'll plug in the monitor, and we're good to go. Let's fire up the machine. Off we go. Okay, so another half an hour has passed. Let's find out what sorts of temperatures we're getting at the back. So remember when we did this earlier, we measured just over 80 degrees. So let's have a look what we're getting now. Just trying to find a hot spot. So basically it's just, yeah, moving the thermometer around until we find a good reading. So the highest I can see so far is 68. That's actually, see, there's a 69 for just the moment. So 69 seems to be the highest reading. And we had 80 plus before. So that's actually a nice change. I'm just gonna try it one more time to see what the highest reading is, but I think we're not gonna, okay, that's a 70. So 70 seems to be the highest that we can get, which is still more than 10 degrees less than we had without the fan. Alrighty, let's turn this around, and we're gonna have a look at any readings in the front. These should be quite a bit lower because the fan is directly on top. So 40, 52 over here. Let's have a look at those memory chips at the top. We're getting 47, 49. So these are all also quite a bit lower. So yeah, temperature's definitely lower than before. And this is a really easy mod to do. I'm going to shut it down, and then we're just going to chat a little bit more about it. But you can already see that it's definitely working a lot better than without the fan. So yeah, let's wrap up this video. So here we can see the normal card without the modded fan, and down below here with the modded fan. And what I like about this fix is that it doesn't really diminish the value of the card. So it's not like you have to use glue or rip off the cooler or do anything major. It's just a 60mm fan and 2 screws, and you can just remove it and no one will know that was a fan in the first place. And it's gonna look after your card just that little bit more. Now in terms of temperature, Today in Australia it's quite warm. In this room it's 34, 35 degrees. I did not turn on the air conditioning this time. I wanted to have it a bit hotter to simulate what it's like in a computer case. Hopefully that did the whole thing justice. Let me know what you think down below in the comments, especially with this measuring device and what kind of surface. It seems you're getting different results depending on what surface you measure. So basically it's a bit, not as good as I hoped it would be. So I might have to find some normal thermal probes or something I can just, like a sensor that I can stick in between the things and just do it the old-fashioned way. The finger test, of course, also always works. It's not precise, but you can tell if it's really hot. And that's really what this was all about. So yeah, let me know what you think down below in the comments. I know that some of you have come up with your own little mods to mount a cooler with zip ties and rubber bands and all sorts of things. But I really like this one. This is nice and solid and it gets the job done. Okay, that's it guys. Thank you so much for watching and I shall see you soon with another one.